Hello, this is News Mongolian MNB World. I'm your host, Jugdir. And for our top stories. Parliament of Mongolia approves resolution on voting equipment for 2024 election. This year will be the 112th anniversary of National Liberation and Independence Day in Mongolia. The government introduced a plan to boost the winter tourism. For other news, stay with us. The Parliament of Mongolia session on December 21st, 2023 saw the approval of a resolution regarding the utilization of voting equipment in the upcoming 2024 parliamentary elections.
In accordance with the Automated Electoral System Law and the law on the Parliament of Mongolia, the endorsed resolution stipulates the adoption of new image-cast voting machines for the processes of voting, tallying votes, and reporting results during the regular parliamentary elections. The responsibility of managing and operating these voting machines lies with the General Election Committee. The GEC chairman emphasized the establishment of a working group dedicated to overseeing the software of the voting equipment. This group will consist of intelligence and police officers, ensuring the equipment's security is actively guarded. Furthermore, the chairman highlighted the adherence to regulations, with intelligence, police, and professional organizations monitoring the procedures both before and after Election Day. Additionally, thorough pilot testing is conducted prior to elections to eliminate any potential external influences. During the session, the draft resolution secured approval from 55.6% of the Parliament of Mongolia members in attendance.
This year marks the 112th anniversary of National Liberation and Independence Day in Mongolia. The Proclaim to the Public of Mongolia exhibition has opened to introduce the value of independence to everyone. Historians note that the revolution of 1911 was a rare golden opportunity for Mongolians.
On December 29, 1911, Mongolia restored its independence after approximately 200 years of Manchu rule through a national movement known as the 1911 Revolution. The Mongolian people enthroned the 8th Bogdjavzin Damhotakht as the theocratic monarch, and the government headed by him, consisting of 5 ministries, was established on that day.
Mongolia is the only entity that successfully gained independence from China, a country with more than 1 billion people. National Liberation and Independence Day holds paramount significance for the nation. If you identify as Mongolian and consider yourself part of the Mongolian nation, this is the most significant and crucial holiday for you.
In the National Library of Mongolia, priceless documents from that era have been preserved in their original form. It is of the utmost importance to exhibit these significant heritage items to the public and promote historical awareness. Every ancient source preserved in the National Library of Mongolia not only fills us with pride for our rich history, but also serves as a historical reference that should be ingrained in our minds as the most significant guide for liberation and independence.
Despite being under the control of the Manchus, the Mongolians had a unifying ideology through their shared practice of Buddhism. With the head of Buddhism being Bogdjavzin Damhotakht, it became possible for Mongolians to unite under a common faith.
National Liberation and Independence Day was celebrated on December 29, 1911. In anticipation of this day, historical photographs, reports, and books of Bogdjavzin Damhotakht, Altangorog nobles, as well as religious and political scholars are on display to the public.
In a bid to elevate its winter tourism sector, the Mongolian government has approved a comprehensive winter tourism development plan. Aligned with the designated years to visit Mongolia from 2023 to 2025, the Ministry of Environment and Tourism crafted the plan to entice more tourists, foster community-based projects, and combat seasonality.
The cabinet, Ulaanbaatar city governors, and all 21 provinces, along with relevant organizations, are set to kickstart the implementation plan from January 1st to May 1st, 2024. To attract winter enthusiasts, Miat Mongolian Airlines has been mandated to sustain discounts ranging from 25 to 40% on average flight prices. Collaborative efforts with tour operators aim to swiftly organize winter trips and various accommodation facilities, including hotels, tourist camps, resorts, and healthcare centers, will offer substantial fee reductions of up to 50% during the winter season. In tandem with public and winter holidays, Mongolia is set to offer diverse leisure and travel opportunities. The Winter Tourism Development Plan includes a lineup of regular winter sports events, competitions, and cultural festivals. Border tourism routes will be developed alongside national and international sporting activities, including traditional events such as ice knucklebone shooting, archery tournaments, and renowned festivals like the Mungluk, Shakshorak, Silver Rates, Winter Festival, and the Blue Pearl Ice Festival. Other highlights include the Eagle Festival, Camel Polo matches, Reindeer Festival, and the Winter Nomads Tsansar.
Now please take a look at currency exchange rates provided by the Mongol Bank. Now here comes foreign news partnered with international news agencies. Russia is set to hold the presidential election in March 2024. Russia's Civic Initiative Party, which is not represented in the State Duma, announced on Saturday it backed the nomination of independent candidate Boris Nadezhdin in the presidential election next March.
Nadezhdin, who holds a seat on the municipal council in the Moscow region, is known for campaigning against Russia's actions in Ukraine and has the support of a contingent of soldiers' wives unhappy with their husbands' long deployments. For Nadezhdin, getting on the ballot could be an uphill battle. According to Russian election laws, candidates put forward by a party that is not represented in the State Duma or in at least a third of regional legislatures have to submit at least 100,000 signatures from 40 or more regions. Though it is normal for an opposition candidate to run against Putin, broadcaster Ksenia Sobchak, for example, was a liberal challenger in the 2018 presidential election. The tight control that he has established during 24 years in power makes his re-election march all but assured. Prominent critics who could challenge him are either in prison or living abroad, and most independent media have been banned. Meanwhile, the Russian Communist Party, the second largest party in the lower house of parliament in the State Duma, announced on Saturday it would support the nomination of Duma deputy Nikolai Kharitonov for the presidential election next March. Asked if he was ready to compete with incumbent President Vladimir Putin, he said he will fight. Kharitonov was the party's candidate in the 2004 presidential election and received 13.69% of the votes. Earlier this month, the Duma set March 15 to 17 as the dates for the 2024 presidential election, moving Putin a step closer to a fifth term in office.
A service was held at St. Vitus Cathedral in Prague on Saturday to honor the victims of the worst mass killing in Czech history. Church bells tolled at noon and flags on public buildings were at half staff on the National Day of Mourning.
Sometimes we recklessly rush after progress and fail to consider those who fall behind. Despite saying how important the inclusion of people is, we still exclude some, the weaker ones, from our lives. We defend the rights of adults, thankfully, but we often step on the right of children to the faithful love of a father and a mother and the security of a safe home. We note the rise in depression and suicide among children and young people and talk only increasing the number of psychiatrists. We do not have the courage to start thinking differently and decide to live for children so they do not suffer from being unloved.
The shooting inside the university building at the heart of Czech capital on Thursday left 14 dead and dozens injured. Police and prosecutors said they have evidence the 24-year-old shooter also killed his father early in the day and a man and a baby in Prague last week. Authorities said that 13 people died at the scene and the Faculty of Arts of Charles University, and one died later in a hospital. A total of 25 people were wounded, including 3 foreign nationals.
Iran's foreign minister says his country doesn't have any proxy groups in the region, denying involvement in attacks against the vessels in the Red Sea by the Houthis in Yemen.
The acts done by others should not be attributed to Iran proxy groups. We don't have any proxy groups in the region, said Hossein Amir Abdullahian. He made the comments on Saturday following the Tehran International Conference on Palestine. The attacks on commercial ships in the Red Sea by Yemen's Houthi rebels have rerouted the majority of global trade away from the crucial maritime artery for consumer goods and energy supplies, a shift expected to trigger delays and rising prices. Oil, natural gas, grain, and everything from toys to electronics typically travel through the waterways separating Africa and the Arabian Peninsula en route to the Suez Canal, where 12% of the world's trade passes. The Houthis are Iranian-backed rebels who seized Yemen's capital Sana'a in 2014, launching a grinding war against the Saudi-led coalition, seeking to restore the government. The Houthis have sporadically targeted ships in the region, but the attacks have increased since the start of the Israel-Hamas war. They have used drones and anti-ship missiles to attack vessels, and in one case used a helicopter to board and seize an Israeli-owned ship and its crew. The US and a host of other nations are creating a new force to protect ships transiting the Red Sea that have come under attack by drones and ballistic missiles fired from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin announced last week. Amir Abdullahian also said there was no need for a coalition to secure the waterway.
About 300 Indian citizens heading to Central America were sequestered in a French airport for a third day Saturday because of an investigation into suspected human trafficking, authorities said.
The 15 crew members of the Legend Airlines charter flight en route from United Arab Emirates to Nicaragua were questioned and released, according to a lawyer for the small Romania-based airline. She said they are deeply shaken by what happened. The flight stopped Thursday in the Vatry airport in Champagne country for refueling and was grounded by French police based on an anonymous tip that it could be carrying victims of human trafficking, the Paris prosecutor's office said. It said 2 people have been detained and special investigators are questioning the other passengers. The unusual and sudden disrupted holiday weekend air travel as police cordoned off the airport and all flights in and out of the regional airport were halted, according to the administration for the Marne region. Some were rerouted. The airfield is used primarily for charter and cargo flights. Police sequestered the passengers in the airport where they spent 2 nights on camp beds while the investigation continues, according to the Marne administration. It said they initially remained in the A340 plane surrounded by police on the tarmac, were then transferred into the main hall of the airport to sleep. The U.S. government has designated Nicaragua as one of several countries deemed as failing to meet minimum standards for eliminating human trafficking.
Well, that's all for today. Thank you for staying tuned. We'll see you next time with more news and updates. Have a good day.